If you are looking to sort out your savings in 2025, then this will hopefully help you find the best types of accounts, the best account providers within those types that will give you a decent sort of blended approach that ensure you're getting decent rates throughout the year, but also continue saving, making sure you're in that habit, keep adding to those pots. There are obviously so many, hundreds of different providers out there, dozens of different account types out there, that it can possibly be a little bit overwhelming. So this is about me, rather than giving you the full list of everything and top 10 of this and top 3 of those and all that, this is just a much more simple, slimmed down approach just to get you going. Of course, it's definitely worth looking for new products as they come out throughout the year. And every single month I produce an updated article, video and podcast episode taking you through some of those things that are going on. So you know that if one of the ones I talk about now has dropped, well, you can find that replacement, or something better's come along, then you know to move on to that as well. So that will obviously be worth keeping an eye on throughout 2025. And don't forget as well, every single day, twice a day, myself and the team are updating our best buy tables over at becleverwithyourcash.com/savings. So if for some reason these accounts don't suit you right now, you'll see a longer list for each of the different categories and more over there to ensure you are getting the best possible rates for your money. Also, before I do get into this, I do want to quickly talk about as well how much you should have in savings. I won't spend too much on this, but very briefly, most of us don't need to worry about this, right? Because most people here in the UK do not have tens of thousands of pounds in savings. But obviously there are some people, particularly at different stages of life, or where more and more money can be accumulated, more and more money sitting there in savings. And there can be a risk that you have too much money in savings, because over the long term, generally speaking, having that money invested, whether that's in a stocks and shares ISA or in your pension, should outperform normal cash savings accounts. So if you have too much in cash, then you could be losing out in real terms over time. Now, the general kind of rule of thumb here is talking about more than 5 years. You don't need the money for 5 years. In the next 5 years, you should be investing it or putting it into your pension, which is investing too, isn't it? Then that is something to think about. When do you need it? But the other thing to think about here is how much do you need? Kind of guidance here is about 3 to 6 months of essential expenses. That's what you're looking at to put in your savings, because this is how much, if you were to lose your job or be unable to work for whatever reason, you can at least cover the bills, paying the mortgage, paying the rent, paying the bills, whatever it might be, until you can get yourself, back on your feet, back working again. That's kind of the what you should be looking at, 3 to 6 months. Now, for a lot of people, that's not going to be possible, but if you can, go for that amount. And then there's also a separate pot of money. And this is, you might have heard of the term sinking funds. This is stuff that you are kind of known expenses that are coming up. So whereas that emergency fund is for, say, losing your job, paying the bills, or car fails its MOT, your sinking funds are for, I need to save up for a holiday this summer. I want to get a new phone. I want to save up for that. Or bigger things like a wedding, a car, a baby on the way, whatever it might be. You know that. So there's potentially 2 lots of money you want to have. And the accounts I'm talking about right now, this is about those pots, your emergency savings pots and your sinking funds. Because beyond that, yes, fixed rate bonds can be quite useful. The rates have been quite competitive for the last year and a half. That's on the downward trend in 2025. But broadly speaking, look at more money in your pension for those tax reliefs, more money in a stocks and shares ISA for sort of longer term growth, or potentially overpaying your mortgage, because again, that might help you when you come to remortgage, help you get access to better deals because you reduce down something called LTV, loan to value. So again, these accounts are going to focus on smaller sums of money. Okay, so that might be an issue for some of you, but broadly speaking, these ones, if you just have emergency cash, sinking funds, these accounts will be the best ones for you. So where do we start? Well, my number one account for you is a top paying one here is at 7%. And this is a regular saver from First Direct. Now, the reason this is my number one account is because this 7% is fixed. So not only is it the highest rate you're going to find out there right now for most people, it is all locked in for 12 months. So you will be guaranteed to get 7%, which is way above everywhere else. It's very hard to get above 5% right now at the start of 2025. So 7% is fantastic. Now, there are some catches that come with this, because this is a regular saver, which, as the name suggests, you put your money aside on a regular basis, and it is monthly. And because they do this, it is capped. The most you can pay in every single month is £300, which again, for a lot of people, that's still going to be more than enough to be putting aside every month. £300, and you can put it into this fixed 7% saver for the year. If you do that, the full £300 over a year, you will get about £135 back at the end of 12 months, where it brings into the other thing you need to know about a regular saver is, in most instances, I'll talk about another one in a second that isn't like this, but in most instances, they are only around for 12 months. So in a year's time, sadly, you will not continue to get that rate. You will have the money will all mature, it will come out, the balance you put in plus the interest, and you'll have to put that elsewhere into other savings accounts. But I think to get 7% fixed at a time when we're expecting rates to drop is a great option to go for here. You do need to have a First Direct current account in order to get this. There are a number of switching deals regularly running with First Direct as well, so you can get some free cash for switching into First Direct, as well as opening this account. So over time, it's a really good one to go for. You don't have to use it as your main current account, but I say it's a great option to get that switching cash and to get this 7% saver, because you will not be able to beat this. Again, full £300 in there every single month will earn you 135 quid over a year. Very, very difficult to beat that. Now, the second account I think worth a look at is another regular saver. But this one works a little bit differently to that First Direct one. And this is the Natwest Digital Saver, or the RBS Digital Saver. It's exactly the same account. You can get it from either of the banks, but you do have to have a current account with whichever one you want to go for, or both of them if you want. But you have a current account with Natwest or RBS. You can open up this digital regular saver. And this has a number of different benefits compared to the First Direct one. First of all, it is easy access. So you can take the money out whenever you want. That First Direct one, the money is locked away. Once you put it in there, you can't get it until the year is up. This one, you put money in, you can take it back out. Okay, so that's a good win there. I wouldn't have this my main easy access account. I'll talk about that in a minute, but it's pretty good, again, for that emergency fund. Something comes along, you know, you can take that money out of there. This has a rate of 6.17%. Now, this isn't the second highest paying regular saver out there. There are a couple of in-between ones. And this one is variable as well. So the rate could change. And in fact, I imagine it probably good chance of it changing over the next year. But what it has that's different to the handful of ones that do pay a little bit more than this is that it doesn't stop after 12 months. In fact, you'll keep earning that rate of interest on your money in there until you reach a balance total of £5,000. And then once you reach that £5,000, well, you can stop adding new money to it, obviously, but you'll continue to earn that high rate. So it will get you potentially over the longer term, give you a decent balance on there, earning a decent amount of interest. Now, it does have a much, much, much lower amount you can add every single month, just 150 quid, which again, for some people, that's going to be fine. But if you have more money to go, it might be an issue. But again, you could use this in combination with that First Direct one, or potentially some other regular savers as well. If you really have a lot of money every month, you're going to be wanting to put aside. But 150 every month, getting that 6.17%, and it will keep going. That's what I really like about this one. So I think it's good to have those two in conjunction, working together. As I said, that one is easy access, but obviously if you do take the money out, then it's going to make it harder for you to put the money back in later on if you do have a large amount of cash that you can do that with. So the next account, number 3, that I want to talk about is an easy access account. It does have some limitations, but again, it pays a very, very decent rate of 6%. Now, compared to other easy access accounts right now, the best you're looking at is around sort of 4.9, 4.75. So I will talk about one of those in a moment, but this again shows you I think the hoops you have to jump through are worth looking at, and they're only really initial hoops. Once you've done that, there's not much else to do. You'll be getting 6%. Now, this is the Santander Edge Saver. To get the Santander Edge Saver, you do have to have a Santander Edge current account. So you have to open up one of those. So each of these ones I'm telling you about so far do require current accounts, which can be a bit of a pain, right? So you might want to space these out. Don't forget, every time you open up a new current account, there will be a credit check. So maybe you open up one, then another, wait a little bit of time, open up another, and bear in mind any other credit applications you might be having going on. But assuming that's not an issue, remember you have a number of different current accounts, you're not limited to just one. Open up a Santander Edge current account. You can access this saver. In fact, if you have a Santander Edge joint current account, you can actually open up 2 of these Edge savers in addition to the one you'd have from your personal account. So potentially as a couple, you can have an Edge account each, and a joint account will give you 4 Edge savers. You might think, well, why do I need 4 Edge savers? Why don't I have one? Why do I potentially need more of these? Well, most of you don't need to have more than one of these. You'll be absolutely fine. But there is a cap. The most you can earn interest on in this account is £4,000. Now, again, for most people, absolutely fine, not going to be an issue in any way. But if you do want to boost it a little bit, potentially as a couple, 2 personal accounts, that's 8 grand, joint accounts as well, potentially 16 grand, you can earn in that 6% rate. It is worth considering. A few things you need to know though about this though, because that Edge current account does have a £3 fee every single month, which would obviously eat into the interest, reduce it down quite a lot, and it wouldn't be worth it in most instances. You're probably better off going for something which paid that kind of 4.75, 4.9% right now, because you don't have the faff of doing all these other bits and pieces. But you can avoid this fee. If you are the person in your household who pays the bills, so your council tax, your broadband, your gas, your electricity, your mobile phone, you can get cash back from this account on those direct debits. So that will do the maths. There are calculators on the Santander website, but in most cases, that will more than pay for the fee and give you a tiny bit of profit. Not a huge amount of profit. We're probably talking about 10, 20 quid a year, but you'll cover that fee, get a little bit of money, and you'll get that full 6% on the account, right? So that's going to be fine for most people. Now, if you don't want to do that for whatever reason, you don't pay the bills yourselves, you're earning cash back from a different account, or you're looking at opening an additional account in your household, you're already covering the direct debits from one of those accounts, then you can avoid this £3 fee if you never set up direct debits on the account. So no direct debits on the account. So you open this Edge current account in order to open up the Edge saver account. The fee won't ever come out. Now, Santander could potentially say, oh, we're going to move you to a different current account because you're not using it for its benefits. But I've not heard of that happening at all. So I think you'll be absolutely fine. So you open up the account, either cover the fee from cashback or don't ever set up the direct debit so you don't get charged the fee. Open up your Edge saver, you get that 6% on up to 4 grand. One last thing though is worth talking about here is that 6% rate, it is variable, so it could change. In fact, it did change last year. It went from 7% to 6%, but it did only change for new customers. So I had it on 7%, I'm still getting 7%, right? So it only changed for new customers. But whoever you are, that rate is boosted for the first 12 months. After 12 months, it drops down. And if you get this 6% rate, after a year, it will drop down by 1.5% to 4.5%. Now, that might not be too bad. You never know. But certainly after a year, I would compare it. Remember, becleverwithyourcash.com/savings. I would compare it against other options to see whether it is worth sticking with them or not. You might actually feel it's better off moving your money elsewhere or potentially closing that account down and opening up a new one at whatever rate they're providing at that time. So again, a little bit complicated, but I certainly think it's worth a look at. And for most people, if you're putting new money into those regular savers, existing money into that Santander Edge or a combination of Santander Edges, you're going to be really, really difficult to get better rates than that. 6% plus, that's your best combination. However, I did say I'll share with you an easier option if you don't want to jump through all those hoops. Normally, the best place easy access accounts will outperform easy access cash ISAs. And I am going to cover cash ISAs in more detail separately. But as it happens right now, at the start of the year, there's been a lot of competition at the top of those easy access tables from the cash ISAs. They are generally the highest paying ones, if not the highest paying, amongst the highest paying ones. So my pick right now is actually the Trading 212 cash ISA. It's paying 4.9% at the moment. Again, a couple of places do beat this, but there are restrictions with those. So I would look at that one. Now, the most you can add in to any combination of ISAs in the year, obviously, is £20,000. If you do have large sums of cash, this might restrict you because you can only put 20k in here and you might be using ISAs or already put money in elsewhere. But that is, I think, the best one for you. Remember, becleverwithyourcash.com/savings will give you other options out there. And very finally, the other thing I want to talk about here as another type of account for you this year is just for, again, a small number of you. But this is for those of you who are going to, there's a good chance you're going to be paying tax on some of your interest. Now, remember, if you are a basic rate taxpayer, you can earn £1,000 every single year in a normal account tax-free. If you're a higher rate taxpayer, that drops down to £500. If you're an additional rate taxpayer, that disappears completely. So if you are going to go over those limits or don't get those limits at all, then you do want to be thinking about where else you might want to put your money. Obviously, ISAs are a great option. £20,000, as already discussed, can go into those, and anything you earn on those is completely tax-free. So that's great on top of your personal savings allowance. But if you're using that up already or haven't got it, or if you are an additional rate taxpayer, then the last type of account I would recommend looking at are premium bonds. Now, premium bonds, the prizes you win are completely tax-free. So if you do have a decent amount of money, the most you can put in is 50K. If you have a decent amount of money, and we're talking about tens of thousands of pounds here really, can go into that account, then they are certainly worth looking at potentially over the others, because you might find your returns even outperform those high paying accounts once a tax is taken into account. But again, it's going to be a small number of you that that's going to apply to. So hopefully this will help you in 2025 sort out your savings. Remember, I'll say it again, becleverwithyourcash.com/savings for more options and all the top paying rates across all the different types of accounts. So the top fixes, the top notice accounts, top lifetime ISAs and more. You'll find them there. My name's Andy Webb. Thank you so much for watching. Check out these videos here for more ways to make the most of your money.